The Carnival of Shadows. The wind howled through the skeletal remains of the old Ferris wheel, its rusted frame creaking with a sound that was almost human, a low, mournful wail. The Moonlight Carnival, as the peeling sign at the entrance proclaimed, had been abandoned for over 2 decades. Urban legends whispered of people vanishing on its grounds, strange lights flickering in the night, and the faint, ghostly echoes of laughter carried on the breeze. But to Jack, Olivia, Brian, and Sarah, it was the perfect place for an adventure. "It's just an old park," Jack said, his flashlight beam cutting through the mist that seemed to cling to the earth. "Creepy, sure, but harmless." "Famous last word," Sarah muttered, clutching her jacket tighter against the chill. Her wide eyes scanned the shadows, every movement setting her on edge. "I don't even know why we're here." "For the thrill," Olivia chimed in, her blonde ponytail bouncing as she spun around with excitement. "Come on, Sarah. You've read the stories, right? The Carnival of Shadows? People used to flock here. And then, poof, it closed overnight. No one knows why." "Probably because it was falling apart," Brian said, kicking at a loose piece of debris. He was the skeptic of the group, always quick to dismiss anything remotely supernatural. "Places like this are just accidents waiting to happen." "Well, there's one way to find out." Jack grinned, holding up a rusted key he'd found online. "The front gates might be chained shut, but I got us a way in." The entrance. The gates groaned in protest as Jack unlocked them, the sound echoing into the stillness. Beyond, the carnival loomed like a graveyard of forgotten dreams. The main path was lined with shattered light bulbs and overgrown weeds, leading to attractions frozen in time. A carousel with its horse's paint chipped away, a roller coaster twisted into a skeletal silhouette, and the tilt-a-whirl, which sat in eerie silence under the dim glow of the moon. "This place is something else," Olivia whispered, her voice tinged with awe and unease. "Yeah, it's a death trap," Sarah replied, glaring at Jack. "Can we leave now? We've seen it." "Not yet," Jack said, pulling out his phone. "We're here to document this. Think of how many views we'll get when we post the footage." "Great. I always wanted my obituary to mention chasing likes on social media," Sarah said. "Relax, Sarah," Olivia teased, nudging her friend. "You'll thank us when we're famous." The group moved deeper into the park, their flashlights sweeping over remnants of cotton candy stands and game booths. A faded sign for a funhouse caught Olivia's eye, and she tugged Jack's sleeve. "Let's check this out," she said, already moving toward the building. Jack hesitated. "Maybe later. Let's hit the carousel first." "Why the carousel?" Brian asked, frowning. Jack smirked. "Because it's the creepiest, obviously." The carousel. The carousel stood in the center of the park, its once bright colors dulled by years of neglect. The horses were grotesque, their glass eyes clouded and their mouths frozen in snarls that seemed far too lifelike. Chains dangled from the platform, clinking softly as the wind picked up. "Is it just me, or are they staring at us?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Don't be ridiculous," Brian said, stepping closer. "They're just statues." But as the group approached, the air grew heavier, almost electric. Jack climbed onto the platform, shining his flashlight around. "It's just old machinery." Look, he reached out to touch one of the horses, but the moment his hand made contact, the carousel roared to life. The lights flickered on, casting the group in garish, pulsating colors. Music blared from hidden speakers, a warped version of a carnival tune that grated on their nerves. "Jack, what the hell did you do?" Sarah shouted, stumbling back. "I didn't do anything," Jack yelled, jumping off the platform. The carousel spun faster, the horses rising and falling with unnatural speed. Their eyes glowed red, and their snarling mouths began to move, emitting guttural growls that sent chills down the group's spines. "Run!" Olivia screamed. The group bolted, the carousel's haunting tune following them as they dashed down the path. The lights of the carnival flickered on one by one, casting eerie shadows that seemed to reach for them. The clowns, they stopped to catch their breath near a popcorn stand, its metal frame warped and rusted. The air smelled faintly of burnt sugar, and the sound of distant laughter made their blood run cold. "Did you hear that?" Sarah whispered, her voice shaking. Brian nodded, his bravado gone. "Yeah, we're not alone," The laughter grew louder, and from the shadows emerged figures dressed in tattered clown costumes. Their faces were grotesque caricatures, with painted grins that stretched too wide and hollow eyes that gleamed with malice. "Split up!" Jack shouted, panic taking over. The group scattered, each running in a different direction. Sarah found herself in a maze of funhouse mirrors, the distorted reflections of the clowns multiplying around her. Olivia sprinted toward the roller coaster, its towering frame casting long, spindly shadows. Jack and Brian ended up near the Ferris wheel, its creaking movements eerily synchronized with the carnival's haunting music. Sarah's nightmare. Sarah stumbled through the funhouse, her breathing ragged. The mirrors seemed alive, shifting and twisting to trap her in a never-ending labyrinth. The clowns' laughter echoed around her, their reflections darting in and out of view. "Stay away!" she screamed, swinging her flashlight wildly. But the light only made things worse. In every mirror, the clowns grew closer, their hands reaching out. One by one, the mirrors cracked, and from the shards emerged the clowns, their painted faces dripping with malice. Olivia's descent. Olivia climbed onto the roller coaster tracks, desperate to escape the figures pursuing her. The wooden structure groaned under her weight, and the clowns below watched her with predatory glee. "You can't escape," one of them called, its voice a sing-song mockery. "We'll find you." The tracks began to move, the roller coaster roaring to life. Olivia clung to the rails as the cars hurtled toward her, their empty seats filled with spectral passengers screaming in agony. The Ferris wheel. Jack and Brian reached the Ferris wheel, its lights pulsating in time with the carnival's macabre melody. Jack tried to climb into one of the cars, but the wheel spun violently, throwing him to the ground. "Brian, help me!" Jack shouted. But Brian was staring at something behind him, one of the clowns holding a balloon that pulsed like a beating heart. The clown grinned and stepped closer, its eyes gleaming with hunger. The rest of the story unfolds as the group fights to survive the night, uncovering the dark secret of the Moonlight Carnival and the price of escaping its deadly grip. Would you like me to expand on specific sections or continue the narrative?